Hello, friends. This is Professor Googlov. Today's video will be a little unusual, but I'm sure you will like it. So, get comfortable and let's go. Broad Haven. The village of Broad Haven has had many UFO events in 1977. The first of the strange sightings occurred on February 4th. A group of 14 children saw something strange. When they were asked to draw what they saw, their drawings turned out to be very interesting and frighteningly familiar. A certain ship returned to the village on February 17th. However, this time it was seen by the teachers. Then there was a lull, but on April 19th, the saucer reappeared on some farm. This time with two humanoid creatures. As is usually the case, people had many theories, but none of them could fully explain the unusual nature of these phenomena. Tic-tac UFO. A flying saucer is pretty much the only thing that comes to mind when we talk about UFOs. But what U.S. Navy fighter pilots David Framer and Chad Underwood encountered in 2004 was quite unique. While flying over the Pacific Ocean, this white, perfectly smooth, windowless thing suddenly appeared on radar. According to the signals, it was unlike anything ever seen before. The object's behavior was contrary to physics. For example, it would dip in and out of the water. It could also accelerate very quickly and disappear from sight. The incident remained in history as just another account of people who saw something and thought it up. But when the Pentagon acknowledged the authenticity of the video in 2017, the story was taken more seriously. Shag Harbor Incident. It has been more than 50 years since the so-called Shag Harbor incident in Nova Scotia, Canada. On the night of October 4, 1967, an unusual illuminated object fell into the water. People immediately started talking about it. That night, members of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, several airline pilots and a handful of fishermen were at the scene of the incident. They testified to seeing an unusual flying machine. Search and rescue operations went nowhere. No bodies, no wreckage. The ship apparently just vanished as suddenly as it appeared. The fact that no civilian or military aircraft was reported missing made the incident even more intriguing. This has not changed in the last 5 decades. The incident remains one of the most unusual pieces of evidence for the existence of UFOs. USS Omaha recordings. UFOs seem to have a soft spot for military hardware, but in the case of the USS Omaha, they took it to a new level. Radar records showed that the ship was surrounded by not one, not two, but 14 unknown objects. Afterward, they disappeared. The incident happened in July 2019. Radar recordings confirmed that the video of the unknown object plunging into the Pacific Ocean was real. And apparently, the Omaha wasn't the only warship that piqued the UFO's interest. 8 other military vessels have reportedly encountered something similar. Of course, this raises concerns for homeland security. On the one hand, the readings could have been distorted by other technology, such as phones. On the other hand, the data shows objects that function beyond our understanding. Westall UFO. In 1966, one of the most famous UFO incidents occurred in Australia. On April 6, at least 200 people reported seeing the famous flying saucer over the Westall High School field and the nearby Grange Reserve. According to one of the school's teachers, the extraterrestrial flying machine was escorted by 5 small airplanes as if providing it protection. Then, as in the old UFO tradition, the objects just suddenly disappeared, leaving no trace behind. Of course, not everyone believes it was an alien craft. Some think it was a weather balloon that went off course. Prince Edward Island sighting. In today's technological world, unusual lights in the night sky can come from a million different sources. However, we may not be aware of all of these sources. This is probably why the lights seen in 2014 in the province of Prince Edward Island in Canada seemed very strange to many people. The lights themselves were unlike anything we know of. According to John Shepard, the man who captured the incident on camera, the lights looked like a flicker that flickered on and off. Then the tiny bright dots vaporized. All sorts of identifying marks, including the Sirius star, International Space Station satellites or drones, were unlike the source of the strange lights. So it could have been literally anything. Here's a truly unidentified object already. Fighter jet recording. Jet fighter pilots have the most UFO encounters on record compared to the rest of the population. And it makes sense. In 2021, an F-18 pilot off the East Coast saw something that many fighter pilots have spotted before. A barely visible object with all the hallmarks of a UFO was flying past the plane. It was hard to see, moved very fast, and had no discernible means of propulsion. Lakenheath Bentwaters. In addition to the meteor shower that occurred on August 13-14, 1956, there was another event that was recorded by the Royal Air Force and the U.S. Air Force in East Anglia. During this storm, individual objects appeared out of the falling stars. At first, one object looked like an airplane rapidly approaching the base at a speed of over 1,500 km per hour. But later, other objects appeared, which then merged into one and disappeared. It wasn't just an image. The objects appeared on radar and then disappeared again before the military could do anything about it. Roswell crash. Whether you believe in conspiracy theories or not, the Roswell incident in 1947 is worthy of a mention on our list. It was originally reported that a flying disc was involved in a plane crash in Roswell, New Mexico. But this was soon disproved and, in fact, the crashed object was a weather balloon. Later, the information was changed again and it was reported that it was a classified Air Force test using a balloon called Project Mogul. All these strange claims have raised many questions, especially from those who desperately believe in UFOs. There are still no answers. Lubbock Lights. Whether these were really signs of UFOs or if it was just birds flying by depends on who you ask. For three professors at the University of Texas, what flew over them on the night of August 25, 1951, was something amazing. According to the three eyewitnesses, the bright objects seen in the sky were not just as bright as stars, they seemed very large, probably because they were closer. The professors were at a loss. Another group of lights flew by, as if on purpose, to make sure that something unusual was happening. In the end, the men never realized what they had seen, but managed to get the attention of the U.S. Air Force, who said they were probably birds, plovers. Well, maybe birds really can do that. Henderson recording. An enthusiast from Henderson, Nevada, decided to put on a night of stargazing in November 2021 that drew a little more people than he had hoped. Shortly before the event ended, Jason noticed two objects flying so close that they were on the verge of colliding with each other. One object was easy to recognize. Judging by the lights and flashing, it was a jet airplane. The second object was something T-shaped. It's not entirely clear what it was. The fact that the footage was taken near the infamous Area 51 makes the story even more mysterious. Over the years, various theories have been constructed about what exactly is going on in this classified location. Betty and Barney Hill abduction. Are alien abductions real or not? What do you think? There have been reports of them. Among the most famous is the Hill abduction. Betty and Barney Hill back in 1961 were the very first alien victims. It was a strange story, or maybe fiction. The couple had forgotten about the incident itself, but the spouses sensed something was wrong. They turned to a hypnotist who was able to get to the right memories. The victims report that a strange light accompanied them most of the way back to their home in New Hampshire. It turned out that the light was coming from a flying saucer. The couple was then abducted, hoisted onto that very saucer. Betty and Barney say they were subjected to scientific experiments on tables in the UFO, having their hair plucked and skin scraped off. Well, as I promised, the video was interesting. So, subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.